And I'm Beth.
And we're doing a short reflection for this week's Gospel reading. Quick introduction to us. We've been married for 3 years. We live in Drogheda with our baby Lydia. I grew up in the community, the sort of spirit community in Belfast called Kairos. And I moved to Dublin 7 or so years ago. And we're now members of the community in Nazareth in Dublin.
And I also grew up in Belfast. I didn't grow up in community, but I came to be part of the community in London, Antioch, when I moved there for work, and then through that community I met James, and now I live in Drogheda.
It's the best place in the world. So this week's Gospel reflection is from John chapter 3, starting in verse 14 and going through to verse 21. So I'll read it for us now, and then we'll do a bit of a brief reflection on it. Jesus said to Nicodemus, "As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whoever believes in him may have eternal life. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only Son of God. And this is the judgment. The light has come into the world, and the people loved the darkness rather than the light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone who does wicked things hates the light, and does not come to the light, lest his deeds should be exposed. But whoever does what is true comes to the light, so that it may be clearly seen that his deeds have been carried out in God." So I suppose my brief reflection on that passage as I was preparing to do this video, I came at the passage from a familiarity with it, I suppose, because it's, especially John 3:16, has been very familiar to me, or I thought familiar. But the word that jumped out at me this time was the word loved. So, for God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. I could imagine, or one of my sort of ideas is that out of frustration God sent his Son, or out of sort of weariness at us, the people of God, continually turning our back on him, God sent his Son to show us the way and to redeem us. But actually God began in a place of love. So God so loved the world that he sent his Son, and it wasn't as a sort of a desperation thing. It was a rooted and founded in love. So that was a nice reminder for me that this ultimate action, which has been my salvation, was a result of love. And in my own way, more of my actions should be founded in love. So that's my sort of simple takeaway from this. Anything to say?
I am just going to share a brief testimony from my life, which sort of sums up part of the passage. When I was at university many years ago in Belfast, I sort of fell into a relationship with a guy that didn't have a faith, wasn't interested, wasn't really interested in God, and at the time, I had very strong faith and was very passionate about it, about knowing the Lord, and very involved in church. Which actually the guy was like, "Oh, that's good for you to be very interested in your faith. That's fine for you, I'm just not interested." So I got into it, even though a lot of people actually in my life said, "Oh, I'm not sure that's a good idea." And actually, not long into it, I realised that actually spending time with him and being with him was a barrier in me pursuing the Lord and growing deeper in my faith. And I remember particularly one time I was at church, and we were in worship, and I was unable to enter into the worship because I felt very ashamed of some of the decisions that I was making, and of the way that I was living my life at the time. Just spending a lot of time with this guy, and we would have been out drinking with friends a lot, and I just was making decisions that were really making me live in darkness, and separating me from the Lord and his love for me. And I remember the Lord really speaking to me and just saying, you need to choose. You have a choice to make. Because I knew of the Lord's love for me, and I really felt at the time that I was living in darkness, and I wasn't free, that I was really trapped. And so I made a decision, and I broke off that relationship, and actually my life circumstances changed. And I remember looking back at a time later at that period in my life, and knowing that I'd made a choice to choose the Lord, and to live in the light. And I felt a huge freedom, and I also felt I knew the Lord's love for me in a deeper way, and then my life changed completely, and I had James, and here I
am. So yeah, just to bring us to a close, the action started in love, and then it leads us on to the last verse that I read there. Whoever does what is true comes to the light, so that it may be clearly seen that his deeds have been carried out in God. That's the invitation before us, the invitation of the Lord in love to come and walk in his light. God bless you all.